Do you know which type of viewer is actually watching your channel right now? Because most business owners don't know how to actually connect with that exact buyer. So they end up bringing content for themselves and hope it brings in clients. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 4 types of people who could actually buy from your YouTube videos. In other words, what content attracts each one and how to sell to them. And this is something I've tested across dozens of channels, including Caleb Oku's, where nailing this alone helped him 10x his business. So let's start with the first one, because chances are this is the person your content is reaching right now, whether you're targeting them or not. So profile 1, the 9 to 5er. The 9 to 5er is in their mid 20s to late 30s, and typically they're stuck in a routine they didn't really choose to be in, but it's okay because some of them are fine with it. They have a stable income and nothing is obviously wrong with their life, but they know if they stay where they are right now, they'll be in the exact place 5 years from now. And that thought in their head just bothers them more than anything else. And what this person really wants is freedom. They want to wake up and decide what their day looks like without asking a manager for permission to take a day off. A 9 to 5 will never give them that at all. So when they find your content, they want to see a realistic way out. And the whole time they're watching, they're asking themselves if someone in their exact situation could actually pull this off. So the content that attracts them typically calls out their pain points directly. So they have to be specific enough that they feel like you know their exact situation. Then you attach a realistic outcome to something they could follow. This usually comes in 2 forms. The first is explaining the business model itself. So like how I make 100K a month with, and then you just put the name of the business model or something unique that makes it interesting, because a term they've never heard of makes it feel like a new opportunity, you can say, instead of the same advice they've seen everywhere else. And the second is showing the path itself. So like that simple routine that made me 10K a month in 6 months. One sells the vehicle, the other sells the way there, but it has to feel achievable provided they put the work in, because the moment it sounds too good to be true, you lose them. And you could tell they're watching by just reading your comments. They write in full sentences. They ask specific questions about how something applies to their situation. And they genuinely thank you when a video helps them. They engage like adults because they came to YouTube trying to solve a specific problem. And it shows in how they write. Now, this next profile looks almost identical on paper, and honestly, they do overlap a lot. But there's a few key differences in how they actually think. And once you know them, hooking this person into your channel becomes way easier. So, profile 2, the ambitious young person. The ambitious young person is between 16 and 22, and then maybe now and then you'll find a 13-year-old watching educational content, which is pretty rare, but they do exist. So just keep that in mind. They might be in school or university, or they just freshly dropped out of one of them for their own personal reasons. They haven't started anything real at all yet, but they've already decided the normal path isn't for them. So typically they're watching business content, lifestyle content, day in the life videos of people living the way they want to live, and they're consuming all of it constantly. Everything with this profile runs on relatability. What usually pulls them in is seeing someone already living the life they want. Now, of course, it could be anyone, but if that person is particularly around their age, the pull is a lot stronger because they want to be like that person. So they start watching their content to figure out how they did it. And that story of how they did it is what sells them in. Like, for example, I was in your exact position when I did this, and now I'm here. So when they hear that from someone they relate to, it hits much harder than any statistic ever could. Most of them don't actually know what to do yet at all. But what you should know is that they have the hunger, but they just don't know the actual mechanism to feed that hunger. So your content isn't competing against something they are already doing. It's just presenting them the exact solution for the first time. So show them where you started, walk them through what you did, and make the path feel like something they could follow starting today. Now, of course, in an ideal world, if you want to capture as much of this market as possible, you would run extreme top of funnel content on top of everything else, meaning day in the life vlogs and lifestyle videos that show off the dream outcome of that particular profile. But of course, it's not needed at all. As long as they can relate to you, talking head videos are fine. Now, one thing that matters more with this profile than any other is the editing. They grew up on short form and their attention span reflects that, as in it's a goldfish. So you want good editing here. So text on screen, motion graphics, sharp cuts with no filler words left in. Now, of course, editing is not the end all be all, but because strategy and ideation always comes first, you could survive without it. But it helps a lot with just keeping this specific person on the video way more than it would with the older profiles, who will actually sit through a static talking head video if the information is good. Now, you'll spot them in the comments through pure enthusiasm and the way they talk, like stuff like bro was doing this, or maybe just saying a random meme like 6'7", or just calling out funny moments inside the video. But just don't let that casual tone fool you, because their attention to detail is a lot higher than you would think. Like, I see it too. Like, they'll pull exact timestamps and catch small details you didn't expect to notice. Now, real quick, if you want to figure out which of these profiles fits your business and have this whole YouTube thing handled for you on a full done for you basis, just click the link in the description to learn more about it. Anyways, now the third profile is where things flip completely. Everything that pulled the first two profiles in means nothing to this person. But once you understand what they're actually worried about, they become one of the easiest profiles to win over. So profile 3, the skeptical older person. This profile is your average older person, usually 55 and up, with no business background at all. Think of the people watching retirement content or financial advising videos or even estate planning. Anything that you expect old people to do, essentially. That whole world. There's just something about their future that is worrying them. And they came to YouTube looking for answers from someone they could actually trust. The worry is usually their current situation. Did they save enough? Will the money last? Was that decision they made 10 years back the right one? And because they've lived long enough to see every scam and every salesman trick out there, the moment your content starts feeling like a sales pitch, they'll just click away like this and just never come back to your videos. But the fundamentals of what you make stay the same as any other profile, but the way you deliver it changes. For example, forget all this fancy editing that I talked about in the first profile that you'd use for the younger crowd. With this person, you edit purely for visual clarity and nothing else. Like, for example, if you are showing numbers, you just put a clean text on screen and they can actually read it, because confusing this person is just the fastest way to lose them. So everything on screen should make the information easier to follow, and everything that doesn't should get cut out immediately. Now, urgency is the biggest lever for them. You could call out their age directly in your title. So things like what to do if you're 60 with nothing saved, or why you need to retire now, or retirement is better at X age, or if you're 55 and still working, watch this. And then you walk through what happens down the line if they wait, where their investments ends up in 10 years, and what retirement actually costs at today's prices. This person already spends their day thinking about the future. So when a title speaks directly to that worry, they click, and you'll recognize them in the comments with just how personal they explain the situation. They'll write out their entire situation in excruciating detail. Their age, how much they've saved, what happened with their pension, the whole shebang from start to finish. Or they'll ask extremely detailed questions about their specific case. The kind of question you would normally hear in a paid consultation, really. And this last and most important profile is the hardest one to impress out of all of them, but they're also the ones with the most money to spend. So if you could get these people into your channel, selling to them becomes way easier when they do hop on a call with you. So this last profile is the sophisticated business owner. This profile is really just anyone who runs a business, but of course, there's a caveat. Some are more sophisticated than others. So for example, a marketing agency owner is probably a lot sharper on marketing than a local business owner. But the thing they share is what matters the most. Running a business develops a certain sharpness, and that sharpness is exactly what makes this person hard to sell to. They already know what's going on. They've seen the tactics. And hey, they've probably used some of them themselves. And they could tell right away when someone is faking it. So in other words, selling to them comes down to being really honest and extremely logical. So think big numbers, the time it took to reach them, and hard proof that you can actually do what you say. So instead of claiming a strategy works, you show it. So you say something like, we made this much doing this, and here's how. Then you back it up with a client story and real examples. Use using as few words as possible to get there, because the proof is just in the screenshot itself. So for example, opening a Facebook ads manager and then showing the actual numbers itself. Like, you cannot fake that, because these people are extremely busy and you do not need a fancy intro whatsoever, and you don't need to walk through the pain points that they're in, and you especially don't need to paint some sort of picture on how there could be a better future. You get to the point immediately, and if anything in the video sounds fluffy, like you're adding words just to appear credible, they'll notice and click off like this. These people value their time more than anything, which brings up the one thing you need to stress with this profile above everything else, and that's what I call value per minute. It applies to every profile, but here it decides everything. How good is the information you're giving in the time you're taking to give it? The ratio is what they're judging the whole video on, whether they realize it or not. Visuals work the same way as the older profiles. As long as the editing helps with visual clarity, it's doing its job, because at the end of the day, if you could show you've done something and can prove it, nothing else matters. Like, if Elon Musk started a YouTube channel and explained how he built SpaceX from the ground up, nobody would care how it's edited. They came for Elon Musk and like how he built a $1 trillion company. Now, of course, this profile doesn't engage much, to be honest. Every once in a while, they'll drop a comment acknowledging how valuable something was, maybe ask a question, but most of the time they're just silent. They'll just watch your videos and just not say anything because they have other stuff to do. But where you actually notice them is when they're on the calls themselves. They'll hop on and tell you they love your videos, and you'll notice they sound genuinely more engaged with you from the first minute of the call, because they've been watching your videos for a while. And of course, they did their full due diligence before you've ever booking. So some of them will even show up ready to buy already, knowing what you do and just wanting the price immediately. And honestly, that's the dream outcome. And the videos are what allow that specific situation to happen. You will not get something like that from paid traffic. So now you have a rough idea of what your exact buyer is on YouTube and how to sell to them, but you still need to know how to actually create these videos properly, or frankly, none of this will actually work. So click this video right here where I show you how to build that exact strategy.